Hi guys, my name is Chrissy and I'm here today to actually talk to you about a topic that I'm just kind of learning on, and it really comes down to veganism. I actually had the pleasure of going through a couple of different sites, a couple of different things, as far as really learning from it. I've learned from other bloggers, I've learned from documentaries, I've even done my own individual research, and come to find out a lot of horrible things about people that eat, actually. The major big thing that has been a major issue between everything is, number one, animal cruelty. Animal cruelty is everywhere, but not as big as we think. Because what I'm about to show you, be careful. You might want to look away for a minute if you don't like this. But I still want to show you guys for the ones who do want to see it. So skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to see this, but I think it's very important, especially if you do eat meat. Now, obviously, I'm not going to keep that up too much longer because it is pretty hard. And that's only about 16 seconds of what exactly happens in these slaughterhouses. But let's say that you kind of don't care. Well, there's a bigger reason you should care. Because I actually found in my research that animal agriculture is the number one thing that is hurting our environment. They're permitting the greenhouse gases, which is making it very hard for the heat to escape, heating up the earth and making the climate change. Unfortunately, as I've come to discover, nobody wants to really address this. Too many times that people have reached out to companies to ask them, why haven't you ever put this on your site? To say, hey, this is what's causing it. We need to do something about it. They choose not to. They choose not to do anything about it, look the other way. So what else are we to think? If you don't do your research and you just keep going with what you're doing, you're going to live in a blind side of not even knowing what happens to the animals or the environment. It's actually a fact that the cows that they have to raise eat enough grain and food that can feed all the hungry people in the world. But nobody says anything. Nobody stops it. A lot of people have different reasons why they won't go vegan. And I actually looked those up too. You know, it's a lot harder to find people who actually don't want to go vegan versus people who like it or just haven't heard about it. As far as what vegan is, in case you're not quite on board yet of even what it is, it's just the excess of animal products and byproducts. And by byproducts, I mostly mean milk and eggs. Milk, eggs, and cheese. Those are the ones that are mostly a byproduct of the actual animal itself. But unfortunately, the ones that actually make the byproducts, yeah, they're not treated so nicely. And you think that maybe, you know, when they're done, they'll go out in the field, and that's actually wrong. They actually die at the end of their term. With cows, as soon as they're not able to produce enough milk, they go to the slaughterhouse, and they actually go through the same pain as a regular male. As far as chickens, the female chickens are the one that produces the eggs. As soon as they stop producing them, or a low amount is being produced, they'll send them off to be, well, pure chicken nuggets. So, where exactly do we stand on that? Where's the line? Now, some of you are like, okay, Christine, that is bad. But, you know, they were meant to be on this earth so we can eat them. I mean, that's what our ancestors did. Not exactly what our ancestors did. Our ancestors, going all the way back to cavemen days. Yeah, they had some, but not a lot. They actually just did what they did. They did what they could. If they can't find it, they didn't eat it. If you don't find a hamburger on your plate, what do? You go to the store. Yeah, you found it, but you didn't get it. Back then in those days, they actually had to go ahead and hunt down their food. They were hunters and gatherers. Now at the same time, they ate mostly the fruits, vegetables, and grains, mostly because that was easily accessible and much easier to actually store. But at the same time, they did go ahead and hunt for animals. But one thing they didn't do that we're doing now is mass population of cows, chickens, pigs. Why? So they can end up on your dinner table. That's all. Because we're forcing female cows to have babies. To have baby cows. Why? Because you want their milk. But did you know that actually after approximately 2 days, that baby cow's ripped from its mother and never seen again? At least for the mom. In other cases, what happens is they pull them away from the mother, but they still house them there on the farm, especially if they're female cows. If they're female cows, they'll actually raise them and get them ready to actually produce milk. As far as the male, they can either sell them to a beef industry who will actually raise them and make them bigger and better for meat, or they'll just keep them themselves and do it if they actually go ahead and send that. But okay, so how is this affecting the climate exactly? Good question. Because apparently what's going on is that the cows are drinking a lot of the water, which is actually depleting some of the fresh waters that's out there. The streams, the lakes, even some of our ocean's quantity is going down. Not necessarily from them drinking it for the ocean, but more or less because their fecal matter gets into the ocean. Okay? So keep that in mind next time you want to drink from the ocean. The last thing you got to worry about is pee in the pool. Because that's pretty much what you're doing anyway if you drink right out of the ocean. Is you're just drinking some animal's waste. But even let's say that the part you're at is clear and crystal. Because not all places are like that. Well, that may be true. But there's also a lot of places that these streams are overflooding with fecal matter, urination from these animals, and then any just byproduct from the farms that are actually slaughtering them either on the market, like right there, or they're taking care of the sick cows and not exactly meaning giving them antibiotics, although they do that too to keep them healthy so that way they can make their money. So in essence, the amount of poop that the cows actually make emits a gas that goes into our atmosphere. And yeah, we poop too, but they poop 3 times as much as we do in one single day. Could you imagine that even in a whole week, let alone a whole year? So, okay, so we're getting the greenhouse gases from them, but they also need places to graze, especially the ones that say that they are grass-fed. Yeah, all that means is that there's bigger land for them to actually move around. Yeah, that might be good and all, but guess what? That amount of land has no veggies or no vegetables, none of that on it. So all that is made for is them to eat the food. And what happens is after they eat the grass, it then becomes dirt. There's nothing left. Now, of course, you can go, okay, we'll move it from one area, move it to another area, move it to another area. Yeah, you get the selection that way, help with some growing and some others, but that's still land that's being reserved for these cows to actually pasteurize on. And then that's land that's taken away from actually making the fruits and vegetables that can help actually end world hunger. People say they want to end world hunger. There you go. It's actually quite simple. Now, what about other things? Like, I saw people that said, I don't want to go vegan. Not doing it. But then you think, why? Why won't you do it? If you know it's going to save at least 1 cow a day, one animal a day by not eating meat or dairy. And, in fact, will reverse what's going on in our basic economic system, like our economy system, of how the greenhouse gases, okay? I may not be saying that right. I'm trying to just place everything together because there's so much information out there that if it can reverse what's happening with our world and make our earth better, and it'll save animals. So what else is there? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. Some people say, well, I like the meat. I like the way this meat tastes. Hate to break it to you, but you're not tasting meat. Most of the time what you're tasting is the smoke that goes onto the meat, the sauce, the seasonings, the herbs. You're tasting that. You're tasting that part of what's on the meat, not the actual meat itself. Because if you want to actually try what meat tastes like, don't cook it. Just eat it. Because even when you cook it, it obtains flavors from the grease. It obtains flavors from the actual, like any butter you use, any type of seasonings you use. It absorbs that, so it makes it better tasting. That's why when my friend said, well, you see roadkill, go eat it. If you're a carnivore or omnivore, go eat it. It should look yummy, right? None of us want to do that. Now, there are that are saying, for our hunters out there, that are saying, well, what about population control? In case you haven't noticed, they're pretty much under wraps. There is not very many animals that are out there that are an overabundance of population, at least in the United States. Now, it used to be a huge supposed epidemic as far as elephants. And then they ended up starting to poacher all these elephants and ended up made their environment a lot worse rather than better. So, okay. So we think about it this way. We have these animals that are thriving, but barely. And especially for deer hunters out there. You're like, well, this helps keeping the population down. Well, that would be the case if there was an overabundance amount of white-tailed deer. Because from what I've been hearing, the deer have been moving, and they have been making sure to keep themselves pretty much under wraps as much as they can. Now, if we don't, let's say, eat them, okay, they'll actually spread across the United States, actually thriving wildlife. Other types of behaviors that will, like other animals will come back in, other plants will come back in. So, okay, you don't eat meat. Unless they start breeding like the stereotypical rabbit, I think we'll be fine. Plus, don't forget about nature itself. Nature can take care of itself. We don't need to intervene. Besides, when it comes down to it, is that the amount that we're eating as far as meat is coming 90% into our diet by the meatpacking industry. Then don't forget about our dairy, which roughly can be about 10% depending on who you are. I mean, if you had to really look at the numbers, how many of you actually go, the ones that eat meat, how many of you actually go one meal, well, we'll make it a little broader, one day without meat? Some type of meat. It could be ground beef in your pasta. It can be when you do salad, you're thinking, no, I'm doing great, but you put ham on it, you put bacon on it, you're still eating meat. So although, yes, you're eating healthier, you're still supporting the meat packaging industry, which is not always great when it comes to animal cruelty. So the different reasons you can go vegan: animal cruelty, helping the environment, or in my case, it's for the nutritional value of actually being healthy. Now, my friend actually challenged me to do it. That's what got me started into it. But like I was saying in my last video, I want to do this more than just I was challenged. I want to know what reasons can I get behind that can actually support what I'm actually doing? And actually, plant-based diets, even if you don't go vegan like your entire life, okay? Like you decide, I'm still going to wear my leather, okay? I'm still going to do some animal byproduct as far as like consumer needs, like shampoos, makeups. Okay, that's like a very small portion compared to actually eating the full animal, okay? So when you go to your supermarket and you buy just the plants and the vegetables, what you're doing is you're buying all the minerals and oxidants that you need in your body to be healthy. There's been a lot of studies out there, and there was actually a guy, I forget his name, but he's the author of the book How Not to Die. So if you look up How Not to Die, the author, that's what I'm talking about. The author of How Not to Die actually indicated that a plant-based diet can reverse most, if not all, of the diseases in the United States, especially diabetes. It can help with prevention of strokes, heart attacks. It can help fight against cancer. It can do all this wonderful stuff if people just did it. One of the major myths about the dairy industry is that the common slogan is milk does a body good. Studies actually prove milk does nothing for your bones. Actually, some people say that it actually hurts your bones as far as the degeneration process. Although I haven't found a lot of information on that yet, so I'm not 100% sure if degeneration is possible. However, there's an overwhelming amount that says it will not help your bones. Of course, then comes with cheese. Everybody loves cheese, unless you're lactose intolerant. But ironically, most of the population is actually lactose intolerant. Coincidence? Hard to believe it is. You see, with lactose intolerant, it just means there's this enzyme in our body that is no longer able to break down dairy products. So, vegan products are a best alternative. But at the same time, why can most of us not have it? It's because our bodies were only designed to have these dairy products up until a small age. It's supposed to give us the nutrients and the boost we need to actually grow up stronger, just like the milk from a cow. The milk from the cow is actually designed to be for the baby calf. Now, one thing that cheese also has is because it comes from the milk in a cow, that it has all these hormones that are involved in it. And it's meant to make this little tiny calf, okay? Obviously not this tiny, otherwise we'd have a bigger problem. But in perspective, a calf that might be this big, that is supposed to make them this big. Okay, this is a 400-pound cow and the calf is like this. It's supposed to make them like this in like 6 months. It is supposed to do it super fast. So, with all the hormones that are in there, you would think that that would be something you'd kind of want to stay away from. Especially since milk is actually one of the things, milk, eggs, and fish are just 3 of the things that pregnant women are actually told to stay away from because it could harm the baby in the uterus. Now, for some of you that are just like, you know what? I don't want to. I love the food so much that I don't want to give it up. Well, part of that is because of the food. You see, cheese actually has a bit of morphine in it. It's the chemical in morphine. Now, obviously, not a lot that you need to go to rehab, okay? Unless you really want to. But it has enough morphine in there to send the signals up to your brain to indicate the same feeling if you actually had morphine in your system. You'd relax and chill and just be like, I'm okay. But then as soon as you get off of that, you immediately want to go get some more cheese. Now, I know, you're probably saying, Christy, that doesn't happen to me. Okay, I could take cheese or leave cheese, it doesn't matter. Then why didn't you leave cheese? If you could take it or leave it, why didn't you leave it? But the major also thing is that in my research, I have found that cheese is really bad for you, mostly because of the morphine in it. And I can be one to attest that I can honestly say, my name is Christy, and I was addicted to cheese. I kicked the habit, and sometimes still really want it. However, there are really good vegan options out there. I have the Go Veggie cheese, make sure it doesn't just say lactose free. Lactose free is kind of just like a nice, polite way of saying, here's cheese, feel better. Not necessarily anything was actually removed from the cheese itself. So the only thing that's in there that they took out is there's a small enzyme that they actually removed, but it still has the milk in it. There's still most of the hormones and everything's still in it. So when you pick a cheese, it has to be vegan. There can't be no dairy in it. Now, let's say that you're like, you know what, but what about the meat? I don't want to give up meat. I love how that tastes in my mouth and it just drools all over me. Well, let me tell you this much. I used to eat meat. I used to love eating meat, actually. And, you know, although I can't afford it, which is one good thing, is that meat is very expensive anyway. Now, if you're one of those people who go out and buy meat every single day, just imagine that's probably about 15 or 20 bucks per cut that you can at least take back into your pocket. So, taking that into consideration, that you have all this meat and you eat it every single day for the rest of your life, yeah, it can get kind of one of those, I'm in a pattern, I want to do it this way, I don't want to go anywhere else because this is me. Well, they're actually making burgers now that actually taste like burgers, smell like burgers. Like, I even heard on like this health show that it's like they're making some out there that actually have the texture, will bleed a little bit, which is not really blood, but will bleed a little bit and have like those juices in it to simulate an actual burger, but it's vegan. Now, I didn't see what kind of burger that one actually was, but I can attest that there are actually vegan burgers that taste tremendously well, especially with vegan cheese. Because if you close your eyes, put a bun and everything on top of it, and put your favorite condiments on it, oh my god, it tastes like a regular cheeseburger. Now, of course, you're thinking, well, what about your supplements? Your nutritional factors? Well, I looked into that too. Come to think about it, most of actually the people that I researched were the vloggers who actually had their tests to show you. I don't have a test because I really didn't take a blood test, so I don't know. But they did, and their levels were perfectly on the normal. Actually, sometimes they were a little above in the middle range of normal, so they were far away from actually a deficiency. Now, I can attest to the fact that since I've been vegan since December 18th of 2017, that my heart rate used to be at a regular standstill, resting, like I'm sitting here right now. Well, my heart rate used to be, as a resting heart rate, 86 beats per minute. I went to my doctor about it and he says, well, some people just have high beats per minute. I mean, unless it gets over like 120, you're fine. Okay. I didn't know any better. Well, after I've been on the vegan diet for even a month, like it wasn't even that far, but that's just like when I actually checked it, my resting heart rate was 56 beats per minute, where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be low. It ranges anywhere actually between around 56 to 62, depending on what's going on, like in the morning when I check and stuff like that. But it stays around the consistency. I never hit 80 anymore. Like, that's pretty incredible to me. When I went vegan, everything started changing a little bit. That you're gonna feel it first. That you feel lighter. You feel like you can move a lot more. Mostly because you feel lighter. Now, I've been doing this now for shy under 3 months. Actually, March 18th will be 3 months for me. So, I think December, January, March. Yeah, March 18th will be my 3rd month. Ending my 3rd month. So, with that being said, after my 3rd month, I have lost officially 50 pounds. My weight started at 360 pounds. I was actually kind of at a loss. I didn't know what else to do. I tried every diet I could think of that seemed reasonable. Obviously, I didn't try all of them because that would take way too much time and money. But one kind of thing that I've learned over time is looking back on what I was eating was obviously one of the main culprits. Now, I'm probably getting a lot of people going, duh, yeah. But what I'm talking about is specifically diet plans. The first diet plan that actually I tried doing like as a diet plan, not necessarily just cutting back on food, was Nutrisystem. Nutrisystem had all the food that you could think of as far as normal, but they were a lot smaller. Now, that's good and all, but at the same time, you have to take into consideration about like how much are you really getting in your normal nutritional value. Now, don't get me wrong, I was still losing weight, but most of the stuff we ate were fruits and vegetables. If we took a whole pie, maybe 1/4 of this pie or less was actually meat related. Insane. But yet, if you go on to like these different sites about like cancer and stuff like that, you don't see about animal agriculture that, hey, guess what? Meat's causing this. Although there's studies out there that show there's leading causes to mostly to heart attacks with beef. There's another diet that I actually did called the 1200 calorie diet. It was initially meant for people who wanted to lose weight that were diabetic. And guess what? It sucked so much. I was hungry all the time. I felt like I was literally starving myself to death and had the dairy products. But let me tell you something. With the dairy and the meat, it kept meat in there. But guess what? My portion, this big. It was that big for this much meat as far as like chicken or beef. And as far as egg, you only got maybe a little bit more. Now, one thing that got me started is, of course, my friend said, hey, look, he was not as heavy as I was when he first started. Actually, now I'm below where he started, but he was up there too, in the 300s, easily. And he dropped all this weight, got down to his close to ideal weight, all within 1 year. And all he did was go on a plant-based diet. Now, he did plant-based diet, exercising, a lot of water, and keeping it as whole as possible. And he knows ever since middle school, actually more probably in high school, I've always been told about my weight. That it's like, hey, you got to do something about this weight before it goes out of control. Well, it kind of did get out of control. Not as much as like the 600 Club Life people. You know, I never want to be like that. I don't judge them for that as far as, you know, getting there, because they're trying to do something about it. Now, he came to me and said, hey, look, this worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. I challenge you to go give it a try and give me 1 year to prove that it actually does something. If it does something for you, stick with it. If it doesn't, you can quit. No hard feelings. So I went ahead and I actually started the diet, and honestly, it felt empty. And not empty as in I'm hungry, but empty as in nothing gave me that I'm full feeling. And when I would eat different things, I just felt like, okay, I really have to watch my calories, because that's what you think when you're on a normal all-American diet, is that I gotta watch my calories, gotta watch my calories, gotta watch my calories. Excuse me, I gotta watch my calories. And I was literally petrified of going over 1,000 calories a day. And because in my mind, if you went over 1,000, you were going to gain weight. It didn't matter by how much. It could have been by 4 ounces, okay? I have a way OCD problem with that. But the thing is that when you do that, I was literally petrified, and there was no way of shaking me out of it. But I will always say that to this day, me getting sick made me better, because not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, I got very sick, And it was more just a head cold, that kind of thing. And when people get sick after they start a vegan diet, they think, oh, it has to be the diet. It has to be the diet. No. Meat eaters can get sick too. They may not announce it to the world, but they do. Now, when I got sick, the main thing I was eating, I want to show you guys this, because I stayed vegan, but I had this, okay? Tomato basil soup. It's the creamy. Normally creamy involves cream of some sort, but this one has vegan on it. So it actually replaces it with, I think, soy? Yeah, it actually replaces it with soy milk base. So there's some controversy about soybeans in themselves and being genetically altered and stuff like that, but it's not a high issue at the point, because you can still eat them, still get full and everything like that. But I started eating this, and I had vegan grilled cheese, which you can totally do. And it reminded me back in the days when I'd get sick and I'd have regular tomato soup and grilled cheese, because I dip it in, because I would never typically eat tomato soup, just regular tomato soup. It seemed too watered down. It didn't seem like anything, which is why when I saw the creamy tomato basil soup that I have here and it said it was vegan, I had to try it. So I grabbed a box of these. It was about $3.69, $3.99. Jeez, sorry, it was around $3.99 here. And I looked at it, and it has here that it is 80 calories per cup, and there's about 4 cups in here. Okay? So for me, I'm thinking, oh, this is great. A good way to get the soup I want in a low calorie. Well, that's great, but I was eating it and downing orange juice. Don't ask why, I'm just downing orange juice. So I was downing orange juice in this, getting better, and I realized, one, I'm kind of addicted to the vegan soup. But on top of that, you don't have to strict yourself so much. And it taught me what everybody was saying, you need to eat more. It's ironic how a sickness can sometimes be the best for you. But throughout all of this, that helped me to really think about, why are you doing veganism in the first place? You can't do a diet just because somebody dared you, because I wouldn't be lasting this long and still going. So what else is there? Well, from the research and everything, I found that I think right now I have no actual definitive answer if I'm going to stay vegan or not by the end of the year. However, it does make it very challenging to want to go back. And that's because when you're just given all this information about how it's bad for your health, it's bad for the environment, it's bad for these animals, and that you can take care of so many of your diseases just by going plant-based, and there are plant-based replacements out there, and they taste so delicious. I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep up with trying to find new things, because if you don't have variety, it's not going to work. And that's been the hardest thing for me, is finding a good balance of what I'm used to and what I want and what's good for me. So that is pretty much what I came to the conclusion of, guys, is that although I can't jump into that circle of saying I'm vegan, I can say this much, that I am proud to actually say I'm on a plant-based diet, and that I do not support the slaughter of helpless animals. And I know that not everybody is like it, and that I know that my mom and my boyfriend are very supportive on this change that I've done, and very supportive on my weight loss. And I will say that the hardest thing that I would ever have to battle is informing people why I did it. And I think a little bit, it's just right now health. But with the more research that I do, I think it can be so much bigger than that. I've decided that, like I said before, that I'm going to start my own garden. I got the stuff. I'm just kind of waiting for the seasons to kick in. I might actually start them here the next couple days. Start them inside and then put them outside. And then go from there and see what happens. So I'm going to have a lot more of cooking segments being available for you guys. As far as vegan stuff, I got this nice vegan cookbook my friend got me. It was labeled the How Not to Die cookbook. I'm going to try to do some things from there, actually experiment more, save money. A lot of people think that it's very expensive, and it's actually not. It is not very expensive compared to adding the meat into it. And as far as everything together, it just comes down to building it up little by little, just like if you started your own apartment. Like when you were just leaving the nest and building your own, you're not going to be able to go out and buy $600 worth of seasonings and ingredients and all this stuff like that and use it in a timely fashion. You're just not. But that doesn't mean you can't build to it and use what you need, and it's just going to require a lot of different planning. So I still got long way to go, but hopefully this video has helped you guys as far as knowing a little bit more about veganism, why people do it, and pretty much my thoughts on it. Now, there are tons of resources out there, and everything I just said you can bump into without even trying to bump into. None of this was actually my individual finding. They are by doing different researches. There's different documentaries actually on Netflix I watched. What the Health and Cowspiracy. Those were two of the ones that are on there. I was also, what was it? I was also asked to watch the one, I'm going to bring it up here really quick. I was asked to watch the one documentary by my friend, and he wants me to do a video on it as well. So I'll definitely go ahead and do that. And it is, I believe, Earthlings. That's what it is. That the documentary of Earthlings, to actually do a reaction video to that. So that was a request that was made. That's what's going to happen. So I think this is something that I really want to explore more about and really get more information about. Maybe you guys would want to too. If you have any questions for me or really want to know where I got some of my research from, definitely comment in the comment below, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about this topic. Definitely follow me here on YouTube. Don't forget about my Facebook page as well, Social Support 2017. And just watch out for me, guys. So definitely thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys next time.